Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 347, and today we're going to be doing battle in a Champions Unlimited Gauntlet. And so, as far as the deck list is concerned, today we're going to be playing Samira, Draven, Sion. I was at my best trying to determine what cards were actually available within this gauntlet, and I got my selection locked in. And so as you know, the new cards were released and everything, one of the things I was really excited to hopefully get to try out was using Samira along with Draven. I feel like that's a pretty self-explanatory and interesting combo, with Samira coming down, having quick attack, generating these tokens that allow you to either be aggressive by dealing damage to the face, or allow your units to be challengers, and the challenger working fantastically with quick attack, the quick attack also appearing on Draven. And so Draven, a fantastic unit as a challenger, but also has this discard aspect tied into him. And so one of the things that we commonly see with Samira is you'll frequently just cast the token so you don't lose it. And so you do that point of damage to your opponent. You're going to be striking anyways, getting another one back, and you're just kind of spending mana so that you don't lose out on that value card. Now we have this additional option to where we can kind of convert that token into combat damage instead of just direct damage to the face by using Draven's spinning axes. And so I thought that there was always kind of a nice, really good selection of synergies between these two cards, and that's what I wanted to try out in the video today. Now, the thing that where things get a little bit shaky is I didn't understand if this event was standard only or if it was eternal, and there's no real good way to tell within the game client as far as I could tell. Right, you go and you want to say make a new deck, you click on this little button in the top left that lets you pick a format, you come down, you pick Champions Unlimited, and you say okay, I'm ready to pick me some cards. And so this thing up here at the top defaults to standard, but you can still just switch it to eternal and start adding cards to your deck. And so I didn't know if this deck was going to be legal. I didn't want to spend a bunch of time trying to figure it out just to come and push the join gauntlet button and find out that you couldn't play it. And so we're able to join the event. We're able to give a go with this deck that we're talking about here. But again, it's been kind of a learning experience for me, kind of figuring out what this format was. It didn't really say on the website or anything. I looked at runeterra.ar and it looked like people were just playing standard decks. And so I don't know, man. Maybe we're about to break the format since we're playing Eternal and didn't really know it. But I think we're going to have a good time here with this deck, even though it's not tuned up to the way I would like it to be. And so outside of those synergies between Samira and Draven, we're just playing what would be a fairly standard-ish discard Draven, Sion style deck. It has this really high-powered collection of early game units between the Crimson Pigeon and the Legion Rearguard, and then it has this excellent discard package attached to it, where we can get free discards from the Boom Baboons and the Flame Chompers. Those discards work nicely with our Draven abilities and the like, so we aren't discarding real cards to get these actions going. And then we also have this gigantic burn package to close out the game on the opponent. And so the way that these games typically kind of sequence is we'll play a unit on 1, we'll play a unit on 2. That unit on 2 can now either be Samira or a discarded Fallen Rider. And then on turn 3, we'll probably play our last unit of the game, ideally a Draven, and then we just start throwing burn at the opponent's face. It's a fairly straightforward game plan. I love this kind of deck, and hopefully we get to come out here and have some fun with it. And so, you know, apparently we're able to do battle with this thing. Let's go ahead and jump on in, see how it goes. What a monstrosity. I had no idea. I feel like we're just going to be coming out here and playing against standard decks all day because nobody knows the format is eternal. All right, well, I guess this guy got the memo right. I don't think Ziggs is currently in the constructed format, and so maybe we aren't the only ones playing with this fantastic technology. I thought we really had a one-up on all of our opponents today. Turns out that's not the case, but it would be nice if that was just a little bit more clear in terms of what we are about to get ourselves into if we're playing standard, if we're playing eternal, especially since it kind of defaults to standard and it's not super clear what's happening there. But reasonable enough start. We got a 1-drop in the Pigeon. We got a 2-drop here in Samira. Ideally, on this next turn, we won't be playing burn spells. We'll be doing something that's more attack heavy, but it's going to be a little challenging for us to discard this Fallen Rider. We only have the Get Exciteds in our hand at this point. We aren't playing stuff in our deck like Poro Cannon, and so we're a little bit limited in what we can do with these abilities. But, you know, we look strong. I'm going to go ahead and drop this point of damage on Samira. It's kind of questionable in the sense that opponents probably playing Pokestick. And so then how much of a disaster is it if the opponent has the Pokestick and stops the attack? I don't think it's really going to be worth putting the damage onto our Samira. So let's just go ahead and take this attack. While we know it's good, we'll protect our Samira from Pokestick, and then just have to maybe take, 1 point less of damage to the opponent's face. We don't need a lot of help to close this game out, right? We got 13 damage of burn in hand. We're pretty close to just ending it as is. No. Let me show you how to respond to this Poppy coming on the board. You just say no, thank you. I do not approve of those shenanigans. See if he's got a combat trick behind. We can still potentially stop it, right? If he trades a +2/+2 onto Poppy or something, then we can get out in front of it, but isn't necessary. And now we can come out guns blazing with all the burn. So we're not going to get our Samira flipped this round. Let's get the units on board. The question is going to be, do we want to discard the Flare? And losing out on the Samira doesn't really change anything in that sense. I'm not suspecting that we're going to get to deal too much damage for the remainder of this game. I feel like, we're going to get this 4 damage hit in with the Risen Rider, and then that's going to be kind of the extent of our plays. But I guess if we get to clear out his board a little bit, it's not completely terrible. We got our bro Draven coming in. Maybe we will continue on a little bit more. It should be tough to stop our units, right? I still have to worry a little bit about him being able to put a 1 point of damage onto our Risen Rider. Not as relevant now since it just got boomed, but it was something to still consider there. Let's see how this combat goes. He's got a couple of good blocks, but we get the full clear on the board. If he's playing burn spells onto our units, I still feel pretty decent about this. Taking him down to 13. We got 10 damage of burn in hand at this point, right? Since we played that get excited on the opposing Poppy. So just need a little bit more, just a little bit more. Sion ready to party. He's pretty far from flipping, but I don't think our opponent's going to have too many answers to him. So we get the classic play, right? Just decimate because you don't have anything else to do. See if you can't course correct a little bit on the next turn. Opponent's out here playing Grumble Slugs and stuff. About to say no thank you. Here comes the big old Sion. Party time. Says, I may not be the biggest I ever been, but I'm certainly the baddest. Yeah. Ooh, man, I'm so excited to play Samira with all these cards. She's so strong. It's not something I feel like the Eternal format is going to be ready for. All right. We just need 2 more damage at this point, and we're getting close, but we're going to have this space on the upcoming turns to where we can hook some stuff out of combat. There's that last point of burn that we need. So he's going to play some cards that don't matter, and then ideally we'll just send it all to face. I'm curious if this deck is capable of dealing 3 damage outside of using a Buster Shot, right? I don't suspect it's going to be playing Nox and Fervors. Oh, he's Yordle and armed anyways. Alright. Here comes the fun. Drop a little laser kitty on there. Call it a day. That's what life's all about right there. Alright. GG. Well played. I miss doing that stuff, man. Do you all miss playing with Decimates? You should. You should. All right. On to the next one. Let's see if we queue into that same guy again. We get a fresh opponent ready to play against the old burn deck. The possibilities are endless. That's made my day already, man. I don't care how the rest of this event goes. Just out here casting burn like a boss. Alright, fresh opponent. See if it's the same one. We got a different one. Similar deck. The Yordles, I guess not, calling them the Yordles isn't appropriate, although most of the units are Yordles. This is more along the lines of multi-faction or something along that kind of text. But we get our boy Legion Rearguard on board. I've missed you, man. I've missed you in this dumb format with karmas everywhere. It's kind of nice to get a bro like Legion Rearguard back out here in the action. Interesting Mark of the Storm. Is it fleeting? I don't remember. I don't usually play dumb cards like that. So too busy. I'm too busy out here playing awesome cards like Decimate. I don't have time to play dumb cards like that. All right, well, let's build up to our bigger units here as we're going up against Team Grumble Slug. We're going to need the stats to get in front of it. And I don't feel like adding Flame Chompers to the board really gives us that much of an edge. Big ol' Sion, what up? He's getting closer to flipping. Interesting. He drops the damage onto the Pigeon and not onto the Risen Rider. I wonder if he's just going to have a secondary heavy metal here. I would think the more important unit of the two is the Risen Rider. Just comes in for so much more damage. But I guess he just completely can't block the Risen Rider as to where the Pigeon brings the Pigeon brings higher health, maybe. Oh, this is a bit of a bummer. Our board's not that good. We need like another discard card here. Maybe our deck is a little light on the discard. It's like the problem with this turn is I don't so much care that he flips into Mega Gnar as much as that gives him a blocker that can get in front of the Risen Rider. But then as we roll into the next turn, he's going to be able to Pokestick down the Risen Rider that we have. So we don't have a great set of options there. I think we're just kind of stuck taking this Gnar damage, and then we'll try and hook him out of combat next turn. Interesting, he's still bringing the attacks. Makes it a little worse in terms of the Pokestick if he's going to, say, drop the Pokestick onto the Risen Rider. It's like his blocks are just a little bit better now that if he has the 5/5 on board. But we do have the Flame Chompers. We can still hook the Gnar out of combat, so that gives us a bit of a boost. I'm gonna go ahead and send this burn right to the face place. Definitely not killing any Gnars with it this round. We're probably just on the burn plane at this point. I think he'll probably struggle to kill us next turn. And we'll probably have like 2 or 3 turns to draw more burn spells. Tristana makes that a little bit more suspicious, but keep trying, you know. We're gonna have all 4 power attackers this turn, so if she has to block, she'll fall. Incoming Buster Shot. Alright, so it looks like we'll get him down to 6 this round, right? We're gonna send in our 2 friends like that, hook the Gnar over out of combat. Tristana should have to block one of these. Take 4 and fall to 6. So again, it's not ideal. We're definitely behind at this point, at least in terms of being on board and having units around and stuff, but we are pretty close to ending the game just by having enough burn. Got Sion ready to party next turn as well. Not quite as big as I would like, but he can currently offer up that critical 1 point of damage, as he only has a 3/3 Gnar and a 3 health Grumble Slug. If we get the 3 from the Get Excited, 2 from Mystic Shot, and that amazing 1 point of Overwhelm from Sion, then we got the shot that we need. So let's go ahead and burn the face. We're not going to Mystic Shot any of this stuff. And this will get us to where we have a 3 bank into next turn, 7 mana for Sion, 3 mana for Get Excited. Maybe we can just end the game right here. Still going for it. I don't feel like Draven changes anything. How you feeling now, my friend? Says, oh no, I don't have a way to prevent that 1 point of damage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, here he comes. No wallops, please. Nar's flip is wallop, so it's something we definitely have to worry about, even if it's not directly in the deck. Uh-oh. I'm a little scared. Little scared. What's this? Oh, he's gonna give it bonus health? Lame. So we can still just give him +1 attack though, right? If we go ahead and Get Excited right now, that's going to get us up to the 4 damage that we need. Alright. Break the world, Sion. Check out that skin. World breaking and stuff. Gripped by a burning compulsion. The thing that called Sion strode forward, seeking to crush the world that had granted him life. It sounds depressing, man. I don't need to hear that. Alright. We got the victory though. GG. Well played. The burn package barely getting us there at the end of the day. Feels good. I shouldn't say barely getting us there at the end of the day. I was doing the finger maths all along, doing the mathematical calculations, running it all through my head. I figured it out pretty easy and pretty well. And so, man, as this video rolls on, we've been thinking a lot about the open tournaments here over the past couple of days with the Runeterra Open, and then leading into our previous video where we just talked about opens and the formats and such. And I was remembering, kind of a spot to where back in Magic times, in Magic terms, and one of the reasons as to why events like this can be so hard to police is with Magic, they had a policy with the Grand Prix. Grand Prix are what I look at the opens as most closely resembling, as to where you have a large open tournament where you can just turn up and play. And the thing that Magic did for a while was you would qualify, for the Pro Tour in a similar way that you would for the Worlds event, as to where you go to these Grand Prix. If you make the second day, you get 1 point. I think if you won, you got maybe 10 points, and you automatically got a qualification. But the idea there was that you could really go out and grind the Grand Prix and use that to get your Pro Tour qualifications. And so right from the start, there's a little bit of an edge that's already given to the players in America, just given that if there's like 50 Grand Prix in a year, then like 30 of them were probably in America. There's probably like 20 in Europe, and then at the same time, on the same days, there would be like 10 or 15 in APAC, and maybe like 3 in South America. And so the people in America were already in an advantage, and so there was a little bit of skew there, but there wasn't any cap to the number of events that you could play in. And so I know Melissa DeTora did it. She's maybe still at Wizards on the design or on the development team. She was a pro player there for a long time. I know that she was involved in calling it a scheme isn't the right word, but kind of gaming the system, if you will, in the sense that they just went to all the Grand Prix. They just decided that, okay, instead of playing Pro Tour qualifiers and trying to use that as the means of getting on the Grand Prix, onto the pro circuit, we're just going to go and play in literally every single Grand Prix that we can. And they just traveled the world and played like 40 Grand Prix in the year, and they used that as their tool for qualification. And that's one of the things as to where I don't know entirely how I feel about people like playing on Smurfs and region jumping and stuff in terms of using their qualifications, but that was one of the things I was immediately kind of thinking of in the sense that what they did wasn't illegal. It was certainly in the rule book. There was nothing that said you can't go and play 40 Grand Prix and collect all those points. But, you know, it's kind of not really in the spirit of the game, if you will, that in that, you know, that's probably not a cost-effective measure of qualification, and it's kind of, to a degree, buying your way into the pro event. And you know, scummy's not the right word for it, but gaming the system is more along the lines of what happened there. And I thought that was kind of like interesting in the sense as, you know, you can't really call it cheating. I don't think that's fair, but it's kind of up in the air in terms of ethics, if you will, or gamesmanship. And I thought that was an interesting note. And then in the next season, Wizards fixed it. They said they switched to where your, I believe, top 5 finishes would count. And so if you had a win for 10 points, then like 5 day 2s, then you would get, you know, the 10 points for one, but then you would only have 4 of those 5 count in terms of your overall qualification status. All right, though, but in terms of the game at hand, things seem to be going okay. He hasn't really dealt any damage. We've gone through a lot of the cards in his hand, just forcing him to deal with our dudes, but we don't have a lot going on either. We need to start rummaging just to get something going. Not really the time to start dropping burn spells on the board, and so at least we do have the Samira generating flares, and then that'll let us potentially draw into something else. A big old combat cook. And so at this point, I mean, do we even want to hang on to the flare? I don't think so. We need to just find something better to do on this board. It's like, it is kind of nice that we could come in and flare off Fizz, but I don't think that that's really good enough in the grand scheme of things. The question now will be, do we want to block this combat cook? And I don't think we do. I think we can take the damage. This is one of these spots as to where, you know, it kind of opens us up to being able to take down the combat cook in combat. But I don't think we need to really chase after it. All right, Samira gets weakened. We at least got good discards on the turn. Flame Chompers was a fantastic draw. Let us hook that combat cook out of combat. What's our Sion up to now? 23. He's getting close. He's getting close to flipping. I don't feel like our Samira is going to survive the round, but our board did get much better. How do we feel about this? It's not that big of a deal. None of those units can profitably block this turn.
No problem.
It's in the spot where we could have looked to, say, discard Sion to give something Overwhelm, but our biggest unit in Risen Rider is probably not going to get blocked anyways.
My life or theirs.
The group shot onto Samira. Okay. So our Sion is ready to flip if we can get him on board. I don't think opponent's in a spot to where they can kill us next turn. So maybe he'll come down and do some damage. Things just got a little bit more questionable. He's sitting on 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage. We're going to overbank 1 as it is on this next turn. It's like, it's a tempting time to try and pop Fizz because he only has 1 card in hand. And you can't play like Pokey Sticks. I guess he could play, it's like if he had another point of damage card, like a group shot, then he probably would have played it in combat. I think we might be safe to try and take the Fizz down. It's a bit of a bummer if he's able to counterspell this, but it doesn't seem highly likely that he's going to have the cards in hand to do it. Sion number 2. Not even death can stop me, bro. I got a big oven in my belly. That's the kind of stuff Sion sits around saying. I got a big oven in my belly. All right, well, we might as well block with the pigeon, right? Since he's gonna have most certainly have blockers for it next turn. Sion onto the combat cook is fine. If he kills Sion, we get to re-attack afterwards. Everything about this seems good to me. Safely tucked inside the palace, the warrior Adnatu knelt before her queen. She says, I am bound by oath to protect the city. Let me fight. Juicy commentary right there. So what do we got? This is what I was actually worried about and why I kind of wanted to take down the Fizz on the last turn, is if we leave Fizz up and he's got access to a secondary Fizz, he's going to be able to come at us with the rally. So I don't think he's going to be anywhere near killing us with this stuff, and this is a highly odd attack back. It's not even lethal, but I don't want to take all of the damage. Let's just prevent it. I just have to imagine if this game continues on, that we're going to win. And we have this secondary Sion to play next turn. We have a Decimate in hand. Getting to re-attack after this, I think that leaves us in an exceptional spot, right? He's got to block our Risen Rider. That'll knock him to 3, and then we can decimate him off. I mean, is this deck realistically going to be playing... is it realistically going to be playing the Hidden Pathways, whatever the new counter spell is? Probably not. Even if it is, I think we have enough behind to carry through this. All right, GG. Market a W for bust. All right. See if we can't continue on, collect some more trophies. Do a little bit more burn. Good stuff. Good stuff. Whew, yeah, this is... I was thinking to myself earlier, I kind of like this flow. I don't know if Riot put it together intentionally or if this is the way things just kind of fell and it worked nicely, but you have this space to where, you know, there's a big change in the meta, whether or not that's going to be a balance patch or if it's going to be a do we want to get rid of Fallen Rider here? Right? We have a lot of 1-drops that we want, and then if we're able to even pick up, say, like Samira, we would rather have Samira. It's just not a very good turn 2 play, but I guess it's not going to be able to attack until turn 3 anyways, so it gives us some more options. I just really want to be guns blazing out the gates here against Rise. But no, you know, the kind of flow, I really like this monthly freshness stuff to where there's the big set release, then a month later there's the balance patch, then a month later there's the variety patch, then the month later there is the next set release. So you have this really fresh feeling format for all the games, but within that, right, within the individual month, this is the first month that we've had to do it, but it was kind of nice having that first week to where, you know, it's kind of like the Wild West and everyone's just out there discovering what you can do with the new cards. And then as you approach the next week, you can kind of decide, do I want to just get ready for seasonals or do I want to grind ladder? So in terms of our channel, we just chose to come out and grind ladder. And then the week after that, you can get kind of prepared for the monthly competitive event. And then this last week before the balance patch comes out, right, the next balance patch won't come out 2 days from now. It'll be a week plus 2 days from now, or a week and a day from now, however long it's supposed to be. But there's this kind of like funsy format out here that's a nice little palate cleanser from all the best of 3 that we've been doing. I think that's pretty neat and pretty fun. Whoever decided on this at Riot gets a a thumbs up from Bust, a little +1. Now what's gonna happen is like the next time this kind of thing rolls around, it's gonna be the effing 30 health event, right? As we're out here being super hype about the inclusion of decimate and stuff into our decks, we're gonna have to play that dumb event where everyone just plays control decks because the burn decks are no good. Say, I'll take a breather that week, Riot. No, thank you. All right, is this guy dead yet? We're pretty close. I think we want to go ahead and flare. How much damage is this going to be? So we attack. He's going to block the Crimson Pigeon with Rise. It is probably in our best interest to just go ahead and flare, so Rise isn't blocking a 4-power unit. He's stuck blocking a Zonite Urchin. That's a little bit more damage than just dealing the singular point, but what I was wanting to see is if he just blocks the 4, you're dealing 2, 5, 6, 7, 11, and so the flare would be pretty close to lethal, assuming that he doesn't have anything to do. But my concern with this is he's going to have like a concussive palm, and he's going to have some way to interact with this. I don't feel like we get that close to lethal in these combats very often. Like, I don't want to be in the spot where I have to decimate against Rise, right? They just have so many ways between deny-like cards to stop a decimate that, this is kind of an opportune time to be decimating, given that they haven't had as many turns to draw deny. You don't keep deny in your opening hand, but ideally, this won't be a requirement for us to win. All right, so it's going to be a bounce spell, essentially the same as a concussive palm kind of card. All right, now where do you stand, Samira? You've only seen one spell. I was hoping that you would see a few more. How does this work with Samira if we discard a Flame Chompers? Does that count as 2? I think it should. If the thing, what's it called? The Ionius combat trick, the double cast? Like the double cast cards count. Oh, that only counted as 1. Interesting. Well, you've learned. That's what we're here for. Little teaching moment. Oh, we should have just killed him, right? We got this Nox and Fervor. He tapped down low and we didn't take the opportunity. I think this game's probably still done, but not a real good excuse for not just killing the opponent with only 1 mana up. God. Poor Flame Chompers. You sacrificed your life for science, my friend. You came in, you let us know it didn't work with Samira, and then you just came down and died. Womp womp. Alright, so he's doing more stuff. We're just super slopping it up. We should have Nox and Fervored away one of those units, but it'll be okay. It's only got 2 mana now. You can hit this with a Nopify, but we're getting our Samira flipped at this point, and then we should be able to end it next turn if he has the counter spell here. Got this massive board of units. Health potion, sure. Alright, massive board of units. Show us what you're capable of. Sion, nowhere near flipping. Alright, here comes the squad. He's blocking. He's blocking like it matters. Alright, you gotta like to see the time trick coming down. He just doesn't have the lethal stopper in hand. Boomed him. GG. Feels nice to just come in and murder Rise like that. I wasn't ever like a huge fan of Rise. I did, of course, never played the deck, but playing against it wasn't my favorite, but it was so much more positive to me playing against Rise than it was playing against Karma Set. And I touched on it a little bit when I was just sitting around in our video on the Runeterra Open just bitching and stuff. I had that section in the Runeterra Open video just called Tilt, where I was just tilting about Seraphine hitting like a 1 in 10,000 shot on us. And I thought about making a video on Karma Set, and I kind of worked on it a little bit and just never, I wasn't really happy with what I put together, so I never put it out. But to me, the problem with Karma Set isn't in the actual execution, right? I think that it's completely fine that Karma does degenerate things at 10 mana. The game has already been kind of set up to where you're winning the games on like turn 8 and turn 9. And if you get to turn 10 and you're untapping with a 5 mana champion on the board, then sure, you deserve to be able to do really degenerate stuff. I have no problem with that. The problem that I run into with Karma is that deck in particular is to where you get into that turn 10 space, they're untapping, they have like 3 cards in hand, and you can't concede. You can't like visually tell what your opponent's likelihood of winning the game is, right? You can tell when you're playing against Rise, you're saying like, oh, okay, well, my opponent is untapping on turn 10. They have all 5 runes. They have Rise down. I don't have any way to interact with his spell shield. This game is done. I can stop playing the game. And if you want to continue on from that point to see if your opponent messes up or something, then, more power to you. You're able to, kind of accurately assess the situation and determine if it's worth it to you to just go ahead and quit as opposed to trying to grind out that win. As to where when you're playing against Karma Set, they're going to beat you like 97% of the time from that spot, but it may not be on that turn in particular. It may be like 6 or 7 turns down the road. They can definitely get into these spots to where they roll into that last turn and then they have to draw a bunch of cards and they overdraw something important. Like there's definitely a lot of ways that your opponent can come in and fuck up that game. And you have to decide to yourself, it's not like playing against Rise as to where you say, okay, well, let's see if the opponent messes up with this spell shield or something and we're able to do something crafty and get away with it. You have to just kind of be held hostage in that game for the next like 6 or 7 or 8 minutes. And to me, that's like the worst decision you have to make when playing a game is it worth it to me to try and chase victory, to just like sit here and watch my opponent play solitaire for the next 5 minutes? And it doesn't feel like it's positive for anyone. I guess like maybe the Karma player is having fun, right? One of the things that we used to talk about more in the past when we were playing Expedition is do these cards generate fun for both players? And so my example was always the card Troop of Elnix, right? So if you play the Troop of Elnix, you completely whiff. That's not particularly fun for you, but I guess it's fun for your opponent in that they played their degenerate card and didn't get anything big out of it. And then on the flip side of that, if you play your Troop of Elnix and you hit 5 units and the game just ends, I guess that brings you some fun, right? You hit your big combo, you win the game, but you don't really get to do anything neat with it because your opponent just concedes. And so it's like, where is that magical space to where both players are having fun with the inclusion of Troop of Elnix? And it's in some kind of space to where you play the troop and you hit a bull. And that's it, like no more, no less. Like they hit a little bit, they got a good value on their investment. It's still enough unit to interact with. They definitely got an advantage, but you can try and overcome it and stuff. And it's in that space to where, the card's going to be kind of fun for both players. But those polarized ends are completely unfun for both players. And how often do you run into the spots to where the card is fun for both players compared to where it's not fun for both players? And I think that was kind of an interesting spot, and that's how it definitely feels to me with Karma, as to where the times to where both players are having fun are fairly slim. And so again, I don't think Karma is a terrible design. I just think that whole collection of shit with Karma and the coins and the card draw and extending out the game forever are pretty unfun for most people in most occasions. All right, next battle. Fun times out here, man. Love beating up on the Rise deck. I guess after that big the big tirade I just launched on, I gotta kind of tone it back. I gotta dial it back just a little bit. If we're going to really appreciate Rise in that sense in comparison to Karma Set, then I think we gotta appreciate beating up on him a little bit less. All right, though, up against the Samira Pirates. Let's see what opponent is doing here. I like to think that we're probably at least like a little bit more aggressive than them, and so we might be able to get out in front of it. But they're definitely they're definitely going to have the advantage in terms of like the unit-based combats. And so I think it's important to note with this kind of match, you're going to be thinking to yourself like, I can realistically deal damage with units for maybe 3 turns, maybe 4 turns, and then we just have to purely be on the burn plan. So
Don't ask for permission or for
see how it comes together. This is one of these spots to where you can you can just get your opponent right. I feel like with this we can't really risk it, right? We did get this play off on one of our opponents in the open as to where we were playing a Samira mirror match. We paused on our Samira on our attack token. Opponent played their Samira. Then we followed up with ours and quick attack challenged theirs down. I don't think this is the spot where we can really make that kind of play. Like when you're playing against Fizz, Samira, Samiracle, that's kind of a more mid-rangey style deck, if you will, as to where, oh Jesus, just birding right onto Misfortune, to where in this spot, we are definitely up against a more aggressively oriented deck. So can we win this game with this Misfortune on board? Like, we have the Flare and All Out to boost a unit. Well, we can just boost the Boom Baboon, right? So we don't have to lose our Samira in this combat. We give the Boom Baboon 2/2. Throw it in front of Misfortune. At least get her off of the board. There is an argument for actually blocking with Samira as well, but I mean, I don't think we can really do anything if we don't have her on board, right? What's this handful of Flame Chompers realistically going to do? We're in this spot where we need like a Rummage or a discard, and maybe if we put Overwhelm onto Samira, we can start to recover. But this is pretty bad. It's a bird. Make the most of it.
lose the chance. No problem.
So it's at least a decent combat. You know, we leave our Samira open to just getting nuked by Make It Rain or something, but we really need something to be going right. Hey, I wasn't expecting all this plunder stuff to be coming out of this. It's like half it's like half pirates, half Gangplank thing. It's very interesting. I'd like to give Gangplank a shot in terms of having these new tools. You know, that was kind of a bummer for him to get rotated out when all the new plunder cards hit. It would have probably been pretty degenerate, right? With how good with how good Gangplank Sejuani was in the previous format, I would have to imagine that if Gangplank didn't get rotated, that deck would just be like the clear-cut #1 top deck right out the gates. Alright, we're getting boomed. Doesn't feel good. Taking 5, falling to 7. Can't really do anything about that.
Time for the main event.
I mean, we can flip Samira this turn if we want. We just have to blow all of our cards, right? We can play Flame Chomper's Flare Spinning Axe. We learned earlier that Spinning Axe's or the discard on Flame Chompers doesn't count towards Samira. That would have been nice if we could just discard a Flame Chompers and then play a Flame Chompers to get the flip. I don't think it's really on the table, though. Like, what does her flip get us next turn? So if we're going to say, okay, I'm going to start combat, I'm going to hook the Jagged Butcher out and attack with everybody else. He puts some blocks in front of our good cards. I mean, I guess it gets us a free flare and we're not doing anything else here. The challenge doesn't seem particularly important, but losing out on the Spinning Axe does. So let's just stop. So let's see. We can Spinning Axe. We can discard Flame Chompers. Give our Flame Chompers a bonus.
Now we're cooking.
Now we're cooking. So let's give Challenger to Draven. So if he comes up with a way to flip the Samira in the middle of combat, Draven should still have enough stats to take it down. Now we can make an attack like such. So we get the Father Fury off of the board. We get the Samira off of the board. 5 damage coming through, potentially 6. I assume he's going to block with Bird, though. But if he puts the Bird block in front of Crimson Pigeon, then we can look to discard Sion and have the Overwhelm fall onto the Pigeon. So this is going to be like a... So what's happening? You gotta stop and analyze what's happening here. So he plays a Nox and Fervor, takes us to 4. So like he's just going to try and decimate us, right? So if we play the decimate on our turn, then we should be able to get excited him with his decimate on the stack. That's how I'm reading into it. Okay, don't care about these cards. Alright, Fam Jam. Maybe. Maybe we got ourselves out of this mess. Play your decimate. Please and thank you. Please and thank you.
Is this your best?
So we can go ahead and Whirling Death, right? That's not going to stop us from doing anything this turn. Let's go ahead and try and get some of this stuff off of the board. Get him to cast some spells, right? I don't want to be the one taking the first step. Now that he's played Might, we don't have a choice. He's just going to kill us. But I didn't want to be the one that said, okay, you know, here's my spell. Now you play your Nox and Fervor. I wanted to be the one that had our spell over the most to the left. So, good job. GG. Able to take it down. See if we can't get some maximum trophies in this last game here. Whew, that's tough though. There's a lot going on with that, and I didn't expect to be able to win that. That was a bruiser of a game. All right, off we go. Yeah, man. Even thinking more back to the competitive aspects of Runeterra and the absolute uproar that you saw over this past couple of days in terms of the execution of the event, it's wild to me. Maybe it's just because I'm old, but the number of changes that you saw to the Magic Pro Tour, like literally year over year over year, like things changing and changing and changing and changing. That those people really just had to kind of be in the mindset that I'm being held to the whims of Wizards, and I know that there was even a big kind of hubbub with Jerry Thompson in terms of the pro scene, and he threw a. I don't want to call it a fit. I feel like he had a lot of really valid points in terms of those Magic players being the product that was being delivered and them not being treated particularly well. But it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like just because I've been around the block a couple times or or what the deal is. But it's like I just saw a lot of that activity. It's kind of like, it's not a surprise. Not a surprise. All right. Got the big burn start happening. Look at that, hitting that 5-piece nugget right on the first turn. We got Samira ready on turn 2, Crimson Pigeon on turn 3. Doing that aggro thing a little bit better than the opponent's Jinx Draven is doing it. They didn't even have a 1-drop. I did the analysis on that. They did not play a 1-cost unit. Got one on turn 2 though. Be seeing Draven on the next turn. That's okay. Draven is pretty manageable with our board. Discarded Augmented Experimenter, an expensive unit. Just too slow. This is not the spot you want to be. Not the spot you want to be dropping value cards. So So let's bring in the Pigeon. We'll see if he drops a Draven. We get a really good attack with the Flare if we want, to where we hook Draven into the Samira, and then the rest of our units are too big for the biggest fan to really be relevant with. I like it. I think I like it more than... Do I like it more than just playing Boom Baboon? It does let him block Draven onto the Crimson Pigeon, and then... I don't think I'm a huge fan of that.
No problem.
Alright, so this is a good attack. He has to trade with the Urchin. He takes 3. The Draven falls. We still have Samira. Looks good to me. Got a cat wanting to hang out, though. Come on, girl. Come here. You want to be on the internet? This is more important than any game of Runeterra. Here we go. Here we go. Says, what up, internet? I'm Pepper. Glad to be here. Glad to be a part of your day. She's the only one that hangs out in the videos anymore. She's taken to... I don't know if you ever tell, but like directly behind me there's a big cat tower. And she hangs out on there quite a bit, and then occasionally comes down to hang out a little closer to the video, but doesn't always make it. We'll see. At some point one day I'm going to be moved out of this room into a more dedicated area, and I think I want to get the cat tree more prominently displayed as a part of the video, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm gonna blow this guy up. This is pretty straightforward. Drop the Get Excited on his only unit. Got a big old collection of power on board. Not anywhere near lethal for this upcoming turn, but there's no denying that we definitely have board advantage here. Now a Fallen Rider. I feel like we might as well just play it. Right? It's like if we play a unit, he's going to follow up with a unit. Doesn't matter what his unit is, we're just going to hook it with the Flame Chompers, so we can pretty safely get that 3 points of damage in. And we could look to just lethal. Right? If we say do these, pull this in. My concern with this is if we play the flare, we should have flared, right? We 100% should have done that point of damage. I was thinking next in terms of if we're going to all out a unit, it's very bad if we all out and then he's got a burn spell. And so I was not wanting to play the all out, I was wanting to play the flare. Got distracted by all this cat stuff, you know. It's what you do. You're on the internet. You gotta get the cats involved, and that gets a little distracting sometimes. Right? We never make a mistake. If there's a mistake, you just blame it on the cat. All right, I think we're still looking pretty good here, though. Should get this Samira flip on this turn. Be ready to open next turn, potentially get a kill. Man, he's going big. He's going big. So I definitely want to give up on one unit, right? And then the next question is, do we want to use the all-out to potentially take down like a Zonite Urchin, or even, say, potentially take out Risen Rider? And I think I would rather just have the spell for next turn. So I'm going to take our block where we can get it. This should get us safely out of burn range. He's only got one card in hand, and so he's not going to be able to stop us mid-attack. We can remove the blocker there. Now we can add in the Flame Chompers. Ideally, this Fallen Rider is going to give us that last little bit of damage that we need. Sion turns up. He's a little bit too slow. Well, he's not. I guess he's not too slow. He just opens us up to dying to Decimate plus a burn spell. And I think we might as well risk it. The problem that we have here is, say, we attack with everybody we have. He blocks our Samira, he blocks our Boom Baboon, and then next turn he still has all these units available. And it's just a big potential that if our one unit gets burnt out, that we're gonna struggle in terms of damage. But now I think we can just finish this off with Sion, right? So everybody attacks. Body attacks. Get him in here. 3 health and 3 health get pushed down to the end. And then we just need Sion to deal 1 point or 3 points of damage. Alright, that should do it. Let's get him with that burn spell. Call it a day. Be a lot cooler if opponent was already dead, but that's the spot you find yourself in sometimes, you know. 1 to the Nexus. GG. So, all right. Not a bad set of battles. Nice little 6-0 on the day, and we can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so it's a fairly interesting deck. Again, I was intending on having the deck be a little bit more tuned, but I jumped in to figure out if this event was eternal or not. That was the only way I could really see was actually joining the event, and it turns out it was. And so I didn't get the chance to kind of come back and cycle and edit the list a little bit to be more in tune with what we're looking to do. But as far as this goes, I think that what we would be looking to do here is I liked a lot of this list, right? I like the early game discard and burn package. I love these interactions that Samira has with the rest of this aggro stuff. I think this gives you a nice taste of the bullshit you're going to be seeing when Eternal is a format and it's just Samira everywhere. And so I liked a lot of the aspects there. The things that I didn't like were I wasn't entirely thrilled with the entirety of the discard package, right? It's the thing you start to look at in terms of the discard package is it's kind of polarized, or a pendulum, if you will, as to where, like, on one side of the pendulum you have all of the kind of value based cards, right, to where you're coming out and you're discarding stuff and you're generating, say, like if you think of the Aphelios style decks, right? Get Aphelios Victor that's going to come out, generate a bunch of gems, generate a bunch of Nightfall discard things. You discard all that stuff to rummage, and it's just like a big value plan. That's like one side. The other side of the pendulum is just like the pure burn discard plan, as to where we're discarding stuff like Reborn Grenadier. We're getting some Flame Chompers on board and using Get Exciteds to burn down the opponent. And we want to be more entirely on that onto that burn end of the pendulum, or the burn end of the spectrum. And so what I kind of think here is you probably want to get rid of at least 2 of the Scions, probably the third, replace them all with Jinx. I think it most certainly wants to be a Jinx-based deck. I think that you can probably cut back a little bit on the Flame Chompers and then cut back on the Rummages, and then use that to kind of ensure that you just have more burn in here. Because the statements I made throughout a lot of these games is going to hold true, as to where you're going to look at the board and you're going to say, okay, I am not dealing a point of combat damage after turn 4. Right? Or I'm not going to deal a point of combat damage after turn 3. I think these are all very realistic things that you're going to have to kind of look at and assess. And the answer to getting beyond that is just more burn. And I feel like Jinx solves that problem a lot better than Sion does. And then from that point, it's just a matter of, do I actually want to play cards like Poro Cannon, or you know, like, how deep do I really want to go into these discard themes? Do I want to look to play a card like Arena Battlecaster as just kind of going all in on the burn plan? And that's where I need a little bit more experience with the deck to really come in and decide. But I think kind of like right out the gates, you can pretty safely replace Sion with Jinx, and then from that point forward, the rest of the numbers can be like a little bit up in the air. I feel like looking at discard Jinx style decks in the previous formats, they weren't even bothering with stuff like Mystic Shot. I think they just played Get Excited, Nox and Fervor, and Decimate. And so you might even start to consider pulling the Mystic Shots out of the deck. But I feel like this format is just going to be Samira Central, and you're going to want that Mystic Shot. And so it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But nonetheless, good set of games, good set of battles. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so if everyone enjoyed the video, hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.